Blake James, of course, has been dismissed. We discussed that at length last week. You've discussed it several times on your platform. So we invite everyone, of course, to head on over to the Wholesome Ones channel right here on YouTube. And there is much speculation over the wish list, which isn't always the same as what the reality is and what the administration is considering. So what are you hearing? What's the latest on an AD search that is ongoing?
Well, the athletic director position, I believe, is so important, and there's been a lot of names that have been attached to it for different, varying reasons. We talked about the financial connection of Gino Torretta, someone who got into real estate in the states of Texas and Florida and Pennsylvania over the last couple of years since he got out of playing ball. So probably like 10, 15 years, he's been a CEO of a big real estate company. So that conversation has been huge as far as him being able to help the University of Miami get things built for honestly a cheaper price. I mean, if you know these people, you know the realtors, you know the builders, there's a chance that you'll be able to negotiate and say, hey, well, I can get a guy come over from Texas to be able to put this building up here for a little cheaper, help save you about 15,000 or whatever, things of that nature. So you have that side of the conversation. You also have former Louisville athletic director Yersich, I think is his last name, Yersich, something like that. So he's been out for about 5 years or so. He's helped build Louisville basketball and football. He helped transition them from the Group of Five over to the ACC. And his name has been huge with the Miami Hurricanes, even though he does not, Tom Yusich, thank you very much. He does not come cheap. And he also would like us to really truly invest in athletics and to be serious about that and to prove that for him because he asked for all that money at Louisville. He pushed things and helped them jump to a whole different level. And yes, Louisville hasn't had the most success in the ACC, but they're able to bring in that ACC money, and that was what his whole ordeal was, is to help them get their finances up. All right. You also have Alonzo Highsmith, a name that we've been talking about ad nauseum here for almost. I brought this up when I came up with the hashtag Highsmith to the U a couple years ago, like late 2019. Um, that's been the thing. Is this man has helped build teams. He helped build the Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers as player personnel. Like his gig was to go out, evaluate these young men across the country, attend multiple tens and dozens of pro days and watch how they go through things. And he didn't just do that for 1 year, 2 years. He's been doing it for a decade and a half. Okay. So he's been all over the country. He knows what certain weight rooms look like and how the certain programs have been operating to help these players transition to the higher level of the National Football League. He's seen those who come from the big, well-named programs that worked out and didn't work out. He's seen some who's come from the Group of Five, who's come from the FCS, who's come from D2, D3, who have worked out. So he has an eye for personnel and being able to identify the people that you can help plug together to make a championship program. So we are not looking at Alonzo Highsmith for head athletic director over everything. We're looking at him as head of football operations, which will basically just be athletic director for football. It'll be something new, similar to chief of staff, which is cool. I mean, we are innovative at the University of Miami. So one of the biggest things we would have to do is make sure this is going to work out well. And the AD position, Mark, is something that a lot of us can't name. Like you said before, we can't name 50 ADs. I couldn't even name you 5, to be honest with you. I know my personal AD. I know the AD at the University of Miami, but the former AD at the University of Miami, but that's about it. So in this position, you have to be very diligent, Mark. You can't just go, well, he knows football, so give him a job. Oh, he knows finances, so give him a job. You have to really know what you want to be, because athletic director is not just a 1 or 2 year thing. You're talking about a half a decade to a decade investment as to where can you project your program into based on what you can surround this person with, what financially you can have, geographical location, recruiting, head coach, all that stuff has to work together. And there's a lot of talk about that for the University of Miami being successful, Mark. But it's one of those things where you have to make sure you get it right, the hire, but we have to truly wait and see what's going to happen. And are you going to make moves? Are you going to be, are we going to see nothing but construction over the next couple of years because you are just building? And that's what happened with Mark Richt. I mean, the minute he walked in, he said, this doesn't look right. That doesn't look right. This doesn't look right. What is this? Where's the big guys on the offensive defensive line? Where's the speed at wide receiver? And somebody find me a quarterback. There were multiple things he walked in and saw that it just wasn't up to par if you want to claim to be a championship program. And he was still behind the bar at Georgia to the point where Kirby Smart walked in from Alabama. He said the same thing about Georgia. So think about what that meant about how far back we were. If Georgia is a perennial 10, 11 win program, it was always in conversation. Miami was a decade behind them. Kirby comes from the premier measuring stick and walks into UGA, and they are 10 years behind Alabama. So, I think that's a little wishful thinking as far as comparing ourselves to Alabama and LSU and Oregon as far as with facilities and things of that nature. But those are some of the things you have to go ahead and get implemented and hope that we can surround this new athletic director with all that they need to get better and to take the University of Miami's athletics, specifically for us football, but athletics period, to multiple different levels.
Yeah, just to put into a framework what the athletic director has to deal with versus what a particular, you mentioned the director of football operations, if that becomes a position, what they would deal with is obviously the further you go up the chain, the more responsibility you have and the more you have to oversee and take multiple departments, groups, organizations into consideration. Because let's say just in finances, if you're in charge of football operations and we have $15 million to work with, well, you've got a lot of major decisions to make about where is that going to be invested in and what's your return on investment and what is most in need, what are the priorities. You have to figure all that out. And what makes sense. And you may come up with a laundry list that's going to cost you $60 million, but you only have 15. So you got to figure that out. Well, if you're the athletic director, you take that up to a whole higher scale, because even though football is most important in regards to revenue, how many sports are at a university like Miami? 20, 30?
Yeah, 15 to 20, yeah.
Yeah, something like that, 15 or 20. Then you have to decide, okay, I've got $50 million and women's tennis may be in need of X, Y, and Z, but what is the return on that going to be? How strong do we want to be in that area? Can we figure out other ways to fund it? You got to figure out, and that's just one little drop in the bucket. And you have to figure that out for every program, then put it all together and figure out what needs priority first and foremost and where that falls down the list.
And that's why this is so important, Mark. I mean, you talk about somebody in my perspective, 25-year-old, right? Born in 96. So Miami from 96 to now still has had so much of this up and down. But you start to open it up to as far as somebody like you or even older than you who's watched this program since it started. It's never been fully just in order, under direction. The president, the athletic director, the head coach, the coordinators, the players, the trainers, the water goers, the fans. It's never all been on the same level as far as what are we? Where can we be? And who the hell do we want to be? You've had a president who's like, I'll take the money, but I can't stand the fact that you all go into the inner city and grab these young men with goals and dreadlocks and have them on the football field and wear our logo. I don't like it. But I'll take the money and it's, hey, I'll be at the game and root you on, but I'm not a fan of that. You have a head coach who's like, I'll deal with the administration, just go win football games for me. That's all that matters. Go out there and win games. And then it got to a point where, all right, the head coach is now like, no, I can't go recruit those kind of guys. I don't want that kind of perception on national TV. You know, we don't want to be doing the hip thrusting and the dancing and all that stuff on TV. Let's just line up, play football, shake our opponent's hand, get on a plane, go home, do it again next Saturday. Okay, that it's never been all intertwined. It's never been all on the same alignment, and we've been continuously lied to for the longest as far as we want to be a championship program. This is a championship program. We have five, but we could have had this. We want to go to a different level. Well, you know, investing 20 to 30 million dollars from your school into your football program specifically, that's a nice step. I'm very happy we took that step. Kentucky invests more. Ole Miss invests more. Kansas and Kansas State invest more. That kind of stuff, it's we're in the infancy stage of truly trying to build a football program. And what I say by program is every little aspect of it coming together. So we have to be very careful as to who we put in the forefront of that, because in the infancy stage and in the blueprint stage, if you build on something that's finicky or not put together well, the whole thing could come towering down. You know, 3 4 years later on from now, we don't look right, and it doesn't come together well. So we're just trying to work on, for us in the media, doing as much research as we can, being able to get on platforms like this, and it's an amazing platform, and speak about it, because people in that area are listening. People at the University of Miami, they listen. I don't know if they tune in specifically to just my channel. They may be in a Twitter space on Twitter. They may be in Kane's Insight on. We just want to be a Facebook group, because these are people too, and they hear it from all different angles. So we're trying to be very careful as to the information we're putting out there, and to try to make sure that we're trying to educate folks and give them different viewpoints. And yeah, we can go this way, but what about this? Or bring this name up, or this person, and how much it costs to bring this staff in. We're just trying to help the process as best as we can in the media.